Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Craig Brown reckons Michael O'Neill would be a great choice as the new Scotland boss. Michael O'Neill says he'll take his time deciding his future. Tributes and backing for Liam Miller in his fight against cancer. Yeah, lots to discuss on tonight's programme. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. And on this Monday, our bookroom guest is Gordon Smith. So, let's have a look at the papers for the back pages and the morning headlines in the Daily Record, first of all. And as we mentioned there with Michael O'Neill, you can see the disappointment on the Northern Ireland players' faces after they were knocked out in the playoff 0-0 against Switzerland, and that controversial penalty was the defining moment. The SFA now ready to move for Michael O'Neill as the next Scotland manager. That's the story. Give us a try. This is Dominic Mackay, the SRU's Chief Operating Officer, saying to Scotland, if you're going to move and make a new national stadium somewhere, why not Murrayfield? And also Mikael Lustig saying, I'm a Celt for life. He'd love to finish his career at Celtic. The Sun. And again, Michael O'Neill, but the main headline there from O'Neill, the Northern Ireland boss, is that he will take his time over the decision. And the Mail, same again, O'Neill agony, and this is really focusing on Northern Ireland missing out on the World Cup. And the Courier to finish for us, again, a dejected looking Michael O'Neill, and a story there from Dundee United's Paul Quinn saying he feared his career was over with that heart scare. Okay, so that's just a few of the morning headlines. I have to say, I feel great sympathy for Northern Ireland being knocked out against Switzerland, Ruffy.
Yeah, in light of the the penalty kick from the first game, you know, that was the one that did it. All credit to them. I thought they put up a terrific display the other night. We've already touched on, I thought their two centre-halves were absolutely magnificent. Apart from that, they all battled away for each other, and they have the same problem as us. They don't have a striker, a quality striker. If you've got a top-class striker, you know, you win these games, and that's what we see when you see all the big teams playing. But no, they must have been absolutely gutted, because the penalty thing was the thing that killed them.
Yeah, on the evidence of the first leg, Gordon Smith, I thought Switzerland, you know, created the better chances, and I thought it was going to be difficult for Northern Ireland to get anything out of the second leg. But for the agony then almost to be doubled by that penalty decision, yeah. I wonder if that would have been the same situation. You know, would there have been more of a furore had that been a Germany there with that decision?
I think there's every chance that was the case. I do believe, though, that it's great. It puts forward a case that I've been saying for a long time now, that at the highest level, with the video evidence that's there, that situation should have been looked at again. That penalty should not have been given. That made a massive difference, because that was the 1-0 that ended up being the winning score. Having said that, I felt Ireland played really well last night, but I think Switzerland were the better team. Not sure of the better team in the first game as such, but I didn't see the first game, only saw highlights. But last night I watched it, I thought Switzerland were better, and they missed very good chances. I mean, if they'd had a striker as well, Ruffy was talking about the fact that Ireland don't have a striker. That's Switzerland's problem as well. They had a striker there who missed at least 4 clear-cut chances, you know. So yeah. Switzerland are the better team, they had more possession. But having said that, Ireland, with the players they've got, Switzerland have got a better group of players, without doubt. That's why, you know, it's fantastic the job that Michael O'Neill's done with this Ireland squad, with a lack of talent they've got there compared to other nations. He's got them up there challenging.
Yeah, I just get the sense from, you know, it's a smaller nation. So at the end of the day, FIFA will just look at it and say, listen, you're just going to have to take it. Just the same as Republic of Ireland had to do with France. But I just think that is a terrible way for a country to be eliminated from a tournament. I mean, a referee's decision, not the efforts. I mean, there are many teams that dominate games, Ruffy, and they end up losing it. That's not, you know, even if you deserve to win a game, it doesn't matter. It's over the 90 minutes who scores the goals, but to be gifted it by the referee, it's painful.
Yeah, and if you cast your mind back to it, I don't know why he never consulted the linesman, you know, because the linesman was the guy who was getting you know, the better vision of the two. You know, it gives them a get out to go over and have a chat with them. You know, but I've heard a lot of referees want to make the major decisions. They don't want to have any confusion of going over to the linesman and having a chat about it. But in this occasion, he would have got it right because the linesman obviously saw it better than him.
Well, it should be sure that everything should be looked at. You know, the TV evidence.
Well, it's coming in, Gordon, so it'll kill it all off. The one thing I would say is that Michael O'Neill's stock is rising. I mean, he's been linked for the United States job. I think he's now in at 6-1 to get the Rangers job, just behind Giovanni van Bronckhorst and, of course, Derek McInnes. Now, what can he do that Gordon Strachan couldn't?
But it just depends. Every manager can do something that another one can, and what that means is get the most and get better from players who are of a certain standard, but somebody can come in and actually turn those players around and play a certain way that gets those players producing even more. I've seen it many times. It's down to it's a chemical reaction between a manager and a group of players, how well they do, and he's done that with Northern Ireland, with a squad that's lesser than what we have at Scotland. I think we've got a better group of players in Scotland, squad-wise, than Ireland have. But what a job he's done.
Yeah, you know, Ruffy, I still think it's a tough job for anybody. Find two centre halves.
Yeah,
we've always said if you had the Northern Ireland two of Johnny Evans and Gareth McCauley, Scotland would be in the Championship.
Maybe that's why we should play three centre halves then. Who knows? Well, maybe we should.
Yeah,
we should play a different style. Maybe. You know, that might be the way ahead.
That's not our problem. Finding three centre halves is our problem. Finding one.
Kieran Tierney's now one, isn't he?
Yeah, well, that's another debate, isn't it? Really, I mean, we really need to find someone. But are you a fan of Michael O'Neill?
I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think the biggest question of the lot is, obviously, you've just said there will be people interested in him. I think it's up to him. You know, does he want to stay a national manager or does he want to be a club manager?
I think there's a get out clause, a fee to get him out, but I don't know whether that also goes for international teams that take him away as opposed to a club. You know, if a club comes in from, say, an English club comes in,
well,
I think
there's a suggestion we could let him run out his contract and then get him. So that's another possibility. Here's what former Scotland boss Craig Brown had to say on Michael O'Neill as potentially the next manager.
There have been very good candidates, and Michael O'Neill's outstanding, as everyone knows. And I texted him immediately after the game and expressed my sympathy for him not getting beyond the playoff stage. Now, he should have, because the penalty kick decision was shocking in the first leg of the game. So obviously he's one of the major candidates, I would have thought, and I think it would be a major coup if the SFA managed to extract him from Ireland.
Okay, what do you think? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. There is another burning issue concerning Scotland, and this is Hampden. The SRU's chief operating officer has now thrown his hat into this debate and said, you know, come and see it. Dominic Mackay has said, you know, they would welcome Old Firm Cup finals as well. So the political manoeuvring and lobbying is continuing, Ruffy.
Yeah. Is he sort of demanding it at Celtic Rangers Cup finals now? Because that's the only game I think would fill that stadium. You know, that would be my problem. But for me, old school, Hampden is the place to play. You know, I'd like to see it being modified if the finances were there to do it. I think if you're moving to Murrayfield, you're moving to the same scenario. I think it's too far away from the actual park, particularly on the near side. And again, it's who fills that stadium? I think it'd be a great atmosphere if it was filled, but for me, Hampden all the time.
Yeah, you think it'd be a great atmosphere. It's not a great atmosphere, Ruffy. I've been in it in the press box when Celtic were playing against Legia Warsaw. I don't think it's a great atmosphere. I don't think it has any advantage over Hampden Park. I think Hampden Park needs, you know, some structural design changes that could enhance the qualities of it. But I think
who makes that decision, Peter?
Well,
who finances
there's
that?
Money
is it the SFA or is it the people who own?
Well, I think this whole thing's
part of their own Hampden.
Right, so would they have to?
But there's a complex situation here, Gordon, that's going on. There's a bit of lobbying in the background. There's a bit of self-interest from clubs as well. This is not just a simple thing of, oh, here comes the contract.
No.
This is people in the background, maybe looking at it and engineering to their own benefit rather than looking at it as an isolated national stadium without any outside influences.
Yeah, what has to be taken into account is if the SFA decide not to use Hampden and they move about, what will happen is they'll have to go and pay rental for all the stadiums they're using, right? What they have to do is put that in conjunction with what they actually pay at the moment in terms of rental to Queen's Park for the use of Hampden. As an independent company, it's Hampden Park Limited that actually run the whole show, but there's a rental has to be paid in terms of for matches and also for the use of the offices and all that sort of thing. So that they're taking into account, and it could be a negotiation factor here. It could be a way of saying, well, we need to cut back on what we're paying out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there'll be a fair bit of ducking and diving before we eventually get to that decision, but it's going to be cranked up in the next couple of weeks, that I can assure you. Okay, after the break, we're going to talk about Republic of Ireland. They've got a match coming up against Denmark. We'll also talk about Liam Miller as well. Join us after the break. The Berlin Wall name just nailed that for me, Ruffy, there. That was it, 1989. I thought you would have been on that.
Massive day for a lot of people. No, it was a shirt sponsorship that gave it away for me.
Yep, okay. And Gordon, don't worry, you can fight back. As far as the remaining World Cup qualifiers, of course, hard to imagine Italy not at a World Cup, Ruffy, because you just automatically, they're just synonymous with it, aren't they?
Yeah, we all know they're really slow starters in most of the cups they go in the group stages. So you would expect tonight would be another one of the nights, you know, that I do expect them to score. They don't generally concede a lot of goals, so this could be a long night tonight. I think this could go the whole road.
It's really weird, Peter. The first game of the tournament, first game of these quarterfinals, or these playoffs games, should say, 4-1. So we had 5 goals in the first game, which was Croatia and Greece. There's been 2 games in the 5 games following that. 2 goals, I mean, in the 5 games. I mean, 0-0, 3 0-0s, I think, and 2 1-0s. There's hardly anybody scoring a goal. It's just like unbelievable. It must be so tight. Try to give nothing away. Teams playing very tight. So it really is. It's not been the biggest goal scoring tournament. It takes away a bit from the games. But having said that, we'll still get Italy, Sweden to come. And I think, if anything, I would imagine that Italy will just be playing it very tight. But it's hard to imagine them not being in the World Cup final, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And this next game we're going to talk about, Republic of Ireland against Denmark, they've been accused, Martin O'Neill's side, of parking the bus. I don't think it bothers one jot, because the end justifies the means here. It's just about the result. They've managed to keep the Danes at bay, and now they've got them on their home patch. It's all geared up for a night of wild celebration for the Republic if they can get over the line.
It certainly will be. As I say, I watched that game too, and I felt that Ireland played very well, just well organised, stopped Denmark playing, took away the threat of that Denmark have in terms of they've got a lot of good players. So the key question will be whether the Republic can do it at home, because sometimes playing that sort of style of football is more suited for being an away team. But at home, Republic have got to come out a little bit tonight, and Denmark then will actually, I think, will welcome that, because it means a bit more opportunities in the counter-attack.
I just get a sneaky feeling they've got a wee bit more about them, the Republic, as well, even when they come out, because it's such a well-drilled team. It's just typical of O'Neill and the way his sides play, Ruffy.
Yeah, and it's another side that don't score many goals. You know, they quite, if you were to look at it, I would think 1-0. I mean, we saw it when they were in our group, how difficult it was to break them down. I think we got 1-0 at Parkhead and 1 each over there. So, they're a hard team to beat, and they've proved they can take on the big sides like Germany, when they qualified. So they'll go there the night. It'll be a fantastic atmosphere. Crowd will be right behind them. It just depends on if Denmark are strong enough to hold out, but I would predict something like 1-0 tonight.
I think Denmark have got slightly better players. That's why I'm thinking if both teams are allowed to play, I think Denmark could even win this game in Ireland. But nevertheless, I don't think there's much between them.
What are you going for?
I think Denmark might win 1-0.
Ruffy?
I'm going to go for Republic to win 1-0.
Okay, there you have it. We'll find out and we'll reflect on that tomorrow on the programme. Just a sad note that really has kind of caught quite a few people on the hop, and it's Liam Miller, former Celtic, Hibs, Manchester United player. He was on his travels. He played a little bit in America and in Australia as well, and eventually going back to play in Ireland. He's battling against cancer. I think Liam's undergoing chemotherapy as well. I think everybody caught on the hop with that, Ruffy, because 36 years of age, everybody's been paying tribute to him and backing him to beat this.
Yeah, there's a lot of people can beat it. It's a horrible thing for not only footballers but anybody in any walk of life to be hit with this. And you only can support them as much as you can. We hope that things have moved on, that something can be done. We keep hearing a lot of good stories about people who've fought it. Let's hope Liam can do it as well.
Yeah, Celtic and Manchester United coming out and giving their best wishes to Liam in his fight and the family as well. And everybody here on the football show right behind him. Hopefully he can beat this. Gordon, over and above that, I think Martin O'Neill remembers Liam Miller. He's also expressed his support for Liam in his battle against pancreatic cancer. He was one of those players that, I mean, absolutely just exploded onto the scene with Celtic.
I think, you know, it was somebody who actually you thought was going to be a really top player, you know what I mean, a really big name in the game. Didn't quite work out for him as well as that, but he still had a very good career because he was a very skillful technical player. And it is such a shame to hear about this, because pancreatic cancer is a serious cancer for MD to try and get and fight as well. But hopefully, you know, in fact, he's still a young guy. He's still got a good level of fitness and health that he can fight this, and the treatment he gets is successful and he comes through it.
Yeah, absolutely. We wish him the very best of luck. Moving on to other stories which again dominate the papers. It's hard to believe, Ruffy, I cannot recall a time when we've had to wait this long for the appointment of a Rangers manager. I mean, we mentioned earlier on the first part of the programme there that suddenly you've got Michael O'Neill in the odds at 6-1, Giovanni van Bronckhorst at 5-1, and Derek McInnes still the odds-on favourite with the bookies to get the job, but it's taking a while, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is, and fortunately there's not a lot of silly names getting thrown out there now, you know, because it was coming to that stage. But I'm sure the Rangers supporters will want somebody very, very quickly. There's the games coming up now. You have to keep the momentum going that they're on. There are good candidates out there, obviously. I would like to think there's some dialogue going on somewhere, whoever it is just now. We know these things are now can't be done as quick as possible because of the contracts and negotiations. But I would think if Rangers are doing something sensibly, they'll be keeping it very close and negotiating with somebody.
Well, there's important factors here, because what they'll have to be making it look like, Peter, is that they're really doing a good part of due diligence on this, considering the fact that, you know, that the last manager there just did not work out at all, and they've got to be seen to be taking, you know, as much thought over it, process over it as they can. They're quite fortunate. Graham Murty's going in and won 2 games as a caretaker, and they'll be quite comfortable to give him a third game. They're not going to get any abuse from the support for giving Graham Murty another game, so it lets them buy time. And as Ruffy says, the other factor you don't really know is negotiations are going on, because I remember at the time when once we were choosing the Scotland manager, I was in negotiations with Southampton for George Burley, and it came out, if we hadn't been able to negotiate, we weren't going to take George Burley, but all of a sudden it came out in the press that George Burley was the new manager of Scotland, and he wasn't at that point. But the thing was, I was in negotiations with them because the board had chosen him if they could get him at the right price. But what happened seemed like somebody in Southampton had leaked it to the papers down there, and it came out there. But we haven't done anything from the Rangers one yet, but sometimes negotiations of these things are going on in the background.
Well, they released a statement saying that they've received numerous applications for the position, and they anticipate further applications by the end of next week. The club will then consider all viable options available to it. At this time, the club has not interviewed any candidate and will take its time to ensure the best possible decision is made. Now, listen, they're entitled to do whatever way they want to do this, take as much time as they want, providing, of course, Graham Murty can keep the whole train running along nicely. But it's unusual, this delay for Rangers. I know you've said, clubs do take due diligence, but they don't take this long, Ruffy. Not a club of Rangers stature.
No, you would
Everybody knows it's Derek McInnes. They want Derek McInnes.
Well, if it is Derek McInnes, that's why it's taking so long, because there's money involved there. There's what's reportedly £800,000, which Rangers don't particularly have at this moment in time to be thrown about. So obviously there will be negotiations trying to get that down and working to try and get them cheaper or do some kind of deal. So that's going to take a wee bit of time if it is Derek McInnes. Because you could go the other way and say, right, it's not Derek McInnes because that's too much money. Let's see what else is out there.
See, the applications as well, Peter, you don't get applications from people who are in a job because they don't apply. Because they're in a job anyway, so they can't apply for another job. Or it becomes known that that happens. So what happens is maybe through an agent or whatever, get a bit of discussion goes on and say my client will possibly be interested in the job if you want to have him and speak to him. That happens too. But as Ruffy said, if it was, say, Derek McInnes, there'd be two level negotiations maybe going on. One is with the club, the other one might be in the background with him. Because two things, what he's going to earn, and secondly, what's his budget going to be in terms of being able to bring in players? Yeah,
well, we'll put it this way, Ruffy, just briefly as we head to the break. If it isn't Derek McInnes, it better be somebody with a Rangers background. And if it's not somebody with a Rangers background, there's going to have to be a great bit of PR to convince people that this next guy that nobody's thought of is the man for the job. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think the Rangers supporters, I keep saying, are eagerly waiting. They're the ones that have been putting their money into the club, and obviously a lot of them will be a wee bit disillusioned when we see figures like that coming out and they're pumping all their money in and helping the club getting back where they are. So whoever's deciding this time has to get it right.
Yep, okay. You can give us your view on that at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. After the break, we're going to look at a goalkeeper who played at Hampden Park at the weekend, 45 years of age. We'll look at 4 or 5 goalkeepers who were able to play well into their 40s. That's coming up next. ...1963, we managed to get that, all three of us. If you didn't get 1963, you need to have a long, hard look at yourself. You need to go back and study some history. It's just one of those. It's one of those dates where quite a lot of people say they know exactly where they were when that was announced. It's one of those ones as well, Ruffy, which is one of those burning questions. That, you wonder if there was one question you'd want answered. A lot of people think, was there a man on the grassy knoll?
It's one of these ones in the films that if you could jump in a time machine and go back, what specific sort of a thing you would like to be there and when it actually happened.
Where would you go back, Ruffy?
There's two things. I would like to find out exactly the true story in that, and I would like to find the true story in Marilyn Monroe, what happened there.
Yeah. Okay. Oof, you're deep today, aren't you? Well, that's Gordon, use that time machine.
I'll tell him the answer to both those questions later after the show.
Yeah, of course, I've
read up on it.
Gordon had obviously written a paper to the SFA about it at the time.
And he's got to jump this time machine after the show.
Okay, let's move on. 1963. Kyle Lafferty came out with something, Ruffy, which I think Having spoken to a number of people who deal with addictions, I know that Alec Ray does a lot of great work in his Second Chance project with people with drug addiction as well, and just trying to get people back on track. This is a serious situation, because Kyle Lafferty said maybe football has to reassess its relationship with bookmakers, because he feels as if he's constantly going to be, everything is a day at a time, because he goes to the sessions. He was at Gamblers Anonymous with John Hartson, and a guy was awarded a 35-year pin, and he said to him, "Why so long?" And he says, "You need to do it." He says, "So, you could fall back into it at any moment." And that's the strange thing about it with addiction. You could go for such a long period, and then you can fall back into the trap again. You don't realise that. Everybody thinks, okay, he's come out, he's stated his problems with gambling, he's now back on track, forget about it. But you can't.
No, I don't think you can, and obviously these people deserve as much help as possible, but I personally think it's all about the individual. If the individual wants to be helped, I think there are enough people out there willing to go to whatever it is, sessions, or talk to people. But if you don't want to be helped, then we've saw cases of people, who a lot of people have tried to help them and they've just fell by the wayside. So I think it's a personal thing where you want to be helped. Unfortunately, none of us have been in that situation, so it's very hard to comment on that kind of situation when something like that's happened to you if you've never been there. And it's okay saying, "Oh, I know, yeah, you must feel," because we don't know how they must feel, because we've never went through it themselves.
My only concern with that, Gordon, is I can say that I think a lot of people do put themselves forward that want to be helped, Ruffy, and do go through the programme, but we're only human beings. You can fall off, Gordon. There are temptations, there are situations in your life where you can fall back into it again.
Well, that's what somebody said, that an addict doesn't get cured, actually. He's always an addict. It's just the fact that he might be off his addiction at that particular time, but it's not going to stop. It's like people who are alcoholics, whatever, they're hooked on it, and they have to remain off it, or else they'll be back on it quickly, and it becomes an addiction again. So it's the same with gambling. There's an awful lot of them, especially in football. It is a major thing. That was why it was a bit of a shock. We've seen players being banned because of betting. It's just something that's an interest. The guys have got so much time. Their interest is in football, and then all of a sudden they try to think they've got an understanding of it too. They try to spend money. There's a lot of footballers, really, over the years, even before it became illegal to be involved in it in football, are very interested in betting. There's no doubt about it.
What about the point then that Kyle Lafferty has made? Do you agree with him? Do we need to reassess the sponsorship, the profile of it, the branding of it with football clubs?
I don't actually, on the basis of the same point that Ruffy has made, that they're in there, they're putting money into the sport. Do people become hooked because they just happen to be advertising it? It's like saying anything. There's loads of advertising for alcohol and all that, and if you're not an alcoholic, then it hasn't affected you. These people would be affected anyway, I think. And the fact is that these companies are putting, I know some people think they shouldn't be allowed to, but they're putting money into the sport, and then people say, why are they doing that? To try and attract people to be gambling, all that sort of thing. I can understand that to a degree. The big problem we do have nowadays, which I do think, is the fact that you can gamble massively in sport and football. In the old days, when I was young, like, you were betting a coupon, was just to pick out 8 draws and try and win the coupon, but there was never the same sort of gambling. Now you can bet on when the first throw-in is, who's going to get sent off, all that thing. It does extrapolate the whole thing.
But that's why I'm saying it's so important for the people that are like that they have the right people run about them. You hear so many people saying, "Oh, he's back on the drink again." He's back on the drink because he's going out with the guys who's been drinking with before. So but if you get right people round about you who know you've got that problem, that must help dramatically, for them to stand up and be, because they know them so well, to say, look what you're doing here, things like that.
Yeah, help is the key. Okay, let's switch to something that might be close to your heart, Ruffy, because I'm going to ask you the question following this little tale that caught my eye. Of course, one of the guys that we had the good fortune to have a good chat with, a really good lad at 45 years of age, Rab Douglas, played for Arbroath in their 2-0 win at Hampden Park against Queen's Park. 45, the big man just loves playing football, and to say that he can still keep a clean sheet at 45 and still be fit enough to play, Gordon, is brilliant.
I think it's tremendous. I mean, it really is. I mean, it just shows you that that there's an opportunity. It's mainly only goalkeepers that can actually do that, to play to that age. Because other parts of the field, you've got a lot more running about to do. But it still shows a degree of athleticism if you can actually play in goals, even at a good level, and still perform. And obviously the way Rob Douglas performed at the weekend there to actually have a shutout.
Yeah, what age did you chuck it at?
I was 39. I played in the semi-final. I was at Glenafton at the time, and I was semi-final of the Scottish Junior Cup, and I decided then that standards were dropping, so I decided to retire then.
In the semi-final?
Yeah, we got the semi-final. No, we got beat at Motherwell. We got beat by Newton Grange Star 3-2.
Well, he wouldn't have retired if he made the final.
Yeah.
Think
well,
about it.
listen, he may well have got to the point where there was something that retired
I just
him,
enjoyed playing. It didn't matter what level I was at, but you keep everybody you speak to, you say, where do you stop? How far do you get, what level do you stop at? I just enjoyed it because I liked the people I was with, and I didn't want to let them down.
What year was that, the semi-final?
Oh, I'd be guessing.
Yeah, okay, guess.
60.
Oh no,
60.
no. I would say 92.
92, okay, and I've got to ask you this question. It's a moment of honesty from you, Ruffy. Was it your fault?
One of the goals was my fault.
The third one?
No, fortunately it was the second one, but I actually broke two of my fingers in the first half, but I never told anybody I played on.
Oh, there it is.
brave
I can
boy.
see
So
all
the kind
that,
of guy I was.
They didn't have reserve goalies in those days, though, did they?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have come off anyway. Cause
No, you stayed on for the bravery of it all, just for the back page headlines. Of course, some of the great goalkeepers you can think of, you'll know them. I mean, Pat Jennings, 41 years of age. I mean, Pat had the biggest hands you could ever see. I mean, honestly, he was brotherly love with those hands, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was a fantastic guy. If you ever get in his company, he's good fun, or good crack, as the Irish say. But he's got a great hairstyle as well. He's had that for a few years.
You don't change that.
No, he can't.
I think I could get up just like yourself, Ruffy, in the morning and think, I'm not going to brush this, I'm just going to go the way I am. Which is, Dino's off.
Yeah, it's my favourite.
You love him, don't you?
Yeah, he's my favourite, to be to so many World Cups and at the standard that he played at, and he actually wore the same gloves that I wore there. So You'll sport.
Yeah, there you are. Mark Schwarzer was another one, Gordon.
Yeah.
A pundit nowadays, Mark, but he played on till he was 44, which is some going.
It's good going at high level.
I think John Burridge as well was in his 40s.
Yeah, I think
too,
George was. I think he was quite at Hibs, and he played on after that as well.
Yeah, Farid Mondragon was 43, and also the Hungarian Gabor Kirali played until he was 40. I'm sure there are many, many others. There he's there. Many
I think
others.
Peter Shilton played at a good age as well, I think.
Yeah, Shilts played till he was 40. He was a fan. You just wonder how many caps Peter Shilton would have got had it not been for Ray Clemens. He could have been. He could have been the highest capped player for England of all time.
Yes, I thought he was tremendous as well. But if you ever get a chance to read Archie Gemmell's book, he'll maybe put you right
On
Peter Shilton.
why he didn't get those caps.
No. But whether they got on within the camp or the clubs
All right.
as a
Only
player.
showed six. I only scored past three of those goalkeepers.
Yeah.
He's
Did
out of six.
Well, that's not bad, Gordon.
Yeah.
The worrying thing as we head to this break is Ruffy again has said something which annoys everybody who'll be watching this programme thinking, why didn't he tell us what he was on about instead of bumbling some message that has that kind of a JFK feel about it? Is it worth actually exploring?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
That's another show in its own.
There is another show.
Absolutely.
Let's get Peter Shilton on or Archie Gemmell and ask him about it. Yeah. Okay. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about a team that are celebrating 11 in a row. Champions yesterday. They're delighted. I wonder if you know who we're talking about. Alan Shearer, the most expensive player, and what a player he was for Newcastle as well. Just on Alan Shearer, Gordon, what do you make of there's an interesting documentary on heading the ball? It's something which, again, a lot of people have their opinions for and against on it, the damage that it can do to your brain. It's part and parcel of the sport. How do we counter that? Do we adopt what the Americans do for the kids?
I think that is a route we need to go down if we find out that there is possibility of damage, because what the Americans have done is they've looked at it and thought that when a kid's brain's developing up to the age of 12 is the time when they shouldn't be heading the ball. So they've banned it from youth football up till the age of 12 years of age, so that they can't head the ball at all. I think there could be, I think a lot of credence in that, a lot of credibility in it, because it might be a case of saying, okay, let's leave it out. Later on, it might still have an effect older you are as well, because the tests are doing, I know it's still in university very much involved, and I just believe there should be an investigation into it just to see the impact it's got. I'd hate to see it going out of the game. Without doubt, I think heading's part of football, and if I'd ever had to sign a documentation to say, you know, to play football, heading the ball, you know, it could cause you a problem, would you still agree to do it? I would have done it, because it's part of the game. It's part of what's fantastic about football.
Yeah, I mean, at the absolute, excuse me, Ruffy, at the absolute top level, you've got a situation where so many people are now looking and seeing some of the older players and what's happened to them. That they might. I mean, Jeff Hassel is the ultimate. When you look at what happened to Jeff Hassel, and people are saying, well, is there enough done? I just wonder, there are questions about how do you develop your technique if you don't have the chance to actually practice heading the ball?
Yeah, I think we would all agree on that. You know, it's a big part of the game for certain players in certain positions, but I always think that it's something that we should pursue. We shouldn't hide away from it. We should take everything that's available for us to look at it, you know, and get it right. I remember that film, you probably correct me here. Do you remember the American film about the American footballers?
Concussion.
Concussion.
Yeah.
Concussion it was.
And people just dismissed it for years and years until the professor that was doing it was kept going on about it and trying to get it legal, and lo and behold, it was there for everybody to see that it was in effect. So I would like to think we keep doing it and we keep using, because things have moved on scientifically. And
the biggest argument against it is that there are a lot of people. I think they said something, there's over 800,000 people in Britain have got Alzheimer's or dementia, and they said that, you know, they're not all footballers. There's only a small proportion of them have played football at a good level of that amount. So they're saying is that people can get this without the heading of the ball. But I think there might be there could be a circumstances where it does have an impact.
Yeah, well, I think you would be naive not to think if you keep thumping something that there's not going to be some kind of impact to it. You'll have to look at the boxing situation. Yes. But over and above that, though, I mean, do we get to the point where we try and take... I mean, is sport itself not the risk within it? I don't think you can completely sanitise it.
No, but I think fortunately now modern day balls aren't the same as a way back to the people that were talking about the balls that they were heading. You know, I think if we think back, the big leather balls, they were so heavy, you know, that you can see why there would have been damage. But I think the present day ball now is obviously lighter, and maybe it's not as serious as what it was.
The funny thing was that they did a measurement in the show, and the modern day ball wasn't much lighter than the ball from that day. No, it wasn't. But
from the big leather,
with
the lace.
Yes, but the difference was the difference was when the ball from the old days, from the 60s and 50s, 60s, all that thing, when that was wet, they wet it, right, and it became almost double the weight it had been when it was dry, right. The rain didn't come off the old ball; it stayed in it, and it actually saturated it and made it heavier.
And did they test the mould master as well?
Oh, I didn't check that one out. You know, that was.
I think I still have mitre on the left leg.
That was a ball to avoid the mould master. That was
talking of which, Scotland under-21s against Ukraine. Must win again for Gordon after that 1-1 draw against Latvia. Yeah,
that was probably a disappointing result for them, but they've been doing well. I mean, they've been doing pretty well. They've performed decently in the tournament itself as such. So if they've got to win, they've got to win. But I think that, you know, we're producing players. I'll go back to last week's game, friendly. I thought that was a great demonstration of the fact that we are bringing through in our country technical players. I thought that we showed that, you know, the players that were playing in that game right through the team are technically good players.
Yeah, I'm with you on this, Gordon. I think when I hear any footballer saying technically they were better, you know, we have to try and rectify that and take that out as an excuse. Go and work on your technical skills. We're going to switch codes now to women's football, because we were talking just before the break about champions. Everyone here on the football show saying congratulations to Scott Booth and Glasgow City. The girls clinched the title 11 in a row. And I think it's one of those titles that I think won't divide Glasgow. It's just a great achievement. I mean, you know, when you go in the men's game, we're obsessed by it at the moment, Ruffy, but they got the win yesterday.
Yeah, all credit to Scott and the girls. You know, I think there's been more pressure on them in the last 2 or 3 years to win that league. I think before it was easier. They were winning it like Celtic are winning it just now, but I think a lot of the teams have improved dramatically, so you have to give, you know, Scott and the girls all the credit for winning it.
Here's the goals from the game: 3-0 in the end, and they defeated Hibernian, who've really been you know, a team that's emerged as one of their main challengers. But there's the first goal that set them on their way, Gordon.
Yeah, it was a good strike, wasn't it? And you know, obviously the ladies' game has technically improved a lot over the years. There's no doubt about it. It's far better. And at international level, they're doing well now too. This is not the best of goals to see, a bit of an error coming up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, to be fair, you've seen that in the men's game as well, because many a keeper has made a hash of it all, and the defender there just trying to clear it away. Just
good save.
Yeah, good save initially there, but Ruffy, that's just, you know, somebody just getting caught out there at the back. Lauren McMurtry and then Hayley Lauder, and straight off that they're back in again, Glasgow City, and it was Abby Grant that got the third goal for them. And then I mean, that's again a poor goal to lose, but they get the title, Ruffy.
Yeah, as I said earlier, you know, that it doesn't matter where you're playing, what level you're playing at. You know, to win titles is what we're all in it for. To get that medal or the cup, and you can see the girls celebrating. It just means as much to them as anybody, and the sport's right behind them, and that's a great scene, seeing everybody celebrating with the cup and their medals.
Yep, there is, and there's Leanne Crichton there, our reporter at the weekend on the Saturday Football Show, with her medal. Congratulations to her and all the girls, well done. Of course, it was a delighted Scott Booth after the game.
It feels incredible for the girls to, or the club I should say, to have won this title 11 times on the trot is incredible. But you know, we did speak today about the fact that, you know, this is something that it'll be spectacular if anyone else achieves anything like this. So no one would ever have the chance, I don't think, to make it 11 in a row. And we had that opportunity today to make it 11 in a row. So I was saying, take that opportunity, because it might not come again, probably won't. So the way that they all handled it was so professional. They were excellent from start to finish. They set their standards really, really high. And, you know, I think over the course of the campaign, I think they've really deserved it.
Yeah, well done to Scott Booth. You just wonder if maybe as he perseveres, I think that's his third title, that it might be a way back into the men's game for him at some point.
Yeah, we had a wee shot at it. You know, obviously it never worked out, and he took. It wasn't a gamble going to the women's football, because they had been winning a lot of league titles, so the pressure was on there, because I touched on it earlier. I think the other teams have improved year on year, so it's particularly pleasing for him to get it, because you know, he might be able to move on. It'll be up to Scott. He can decide how much he's enjoying what he's doing.
Yeah, okay, well done to Glasgow City. Just one little thing to finish. David Moyes has brought in Stuart Pearce, Billy McKinley is in there as well, and Alan Irvin. So you can see he's getting the team around him ready for what is a kind of a make-or-break 6-month contract for him. He's getting people in there that he knows will help him make an immediate impact. It could give him a long-term future at West Ham.
Absolutely. Most managers like to do that. Like to get the people round about them that they know and can trust. And I think that David Moyes has decided to do that. He's a manager who's under a degree of pressure because of the last couple of jobs he's been in. Hasn't gone well for him at all. You know, the Sunderland one especially didn't work out when I thought he would be an ideal man for them in order to try and keep them up. But this one, a little bit of pressure here. But, you know, I think he's been underestimated in a lot of degrees because things didn't go well for him. As I say, I'm pretty sure he can turn that around and hope he does a good job at West Ham.
Yep, getting back into football and getting the chance is the key. Good luck to Danny Lennon as well as the new first team manager of Clyde. So he's got a job to do. We'll hopefully over the course of the forthcoming days get a wee chance to chat with Danny on that and his hopes and ambitions at the Bully Wee. So that's it for the programme tonight. Join us tomorrow. On the programme we'll reflect on that playoff between Italy and Sweden and talk about the emerging headlines from the day. Ruffy, myself and Gordon are now heading into a DeLorean to travel back in time to see about that grassy knoll. Good night.